I've never been one for storytelling, but this one needs to be told. My name is Rick, and what I experienced on the road to Marksville still haunts me. If you're reading this, maybe you can make sense of it, or maybe you'll just dismiss it as another one of those ghost stories. Either way, I need to get it out there. Maybe it'll help me sleep at night. It started on a chilly October evening. I was on my way to Marksville, a small, unremarkable town I'd never heard of until a week before. A distant relative had passed away, and I was the next of kin, apparently. Strange, considering I didn't think I had any family left. But the letter was official, and the lawyer had insisted on my present. There I was, driving down a desolate stretch of road, the trees looming like silent sentinels in the encroaching darkness. The further I drove, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The air seemed thicker, and a fog began to roll in, slow and creeping, wrapping around my car like a suffocating blanket. The headlights cut through it, but only barely. I should have turned back right then, but I didn't. Something compelled me to keep going, even though every instinct in my body screamed for me to stop. About an hour into the drive, the road became narrow, winding through dense forest. The trees were twisted, gnarled things, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The fog grew denser, and I had to slow to a crawl just to see the road. My GPS lost signal, leaving me alone with the sound of my own breathing and the steady hum of the engine. That's when I first saw it. A shadow on the side of the road, just a flicker at the edge of my vision. I brushed it off as a trick of the fog. Then I saw it again. This time, it was more distinct. Figure, standing still, watching. My heart skipped a beat. I couldn't make out any features, just a dark silhouette against the pale mist. I hit the brakes and squinted into the fog, but it was gone. I should have turned around. God, I should have turned around. But I didn't. It kept going, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The road seemed endless, twisting and turning with no signs of civilization. My thoughts raced, jumping from one irrational fear to another. I tried to calm myself down, telling myself it was just a trick of the light, just the fog playing games. Deep down, I knew something was wrong. After what felt like an eternity, I saw headlights in my rearview mirror. Relief flooded through me. Another car, maybe someone who knew the way, or at least another person who could share in this creeping sense of dread. But as the car approached, something didn't feel right. The lights were too dim, too yellow, like they were coming from an old vehicle, and the way it moved, it was slow, deliberate, almost like it was stalking me. I kept my eyes on the road, trying not to look at the car behind me, but I couldn't help it. My gaze flickered to the mirror, and that's when I saw it. The figure was standing in the road, right behind my car. But this time, it wasn't just a shadow. It was a man, or what looked like a man, dressed in old-fashioned clothes, his face pale and hollow-eyed. He was just standing there, staring at me. I slammed my foot on the gas, my car lurching forward as I sped down the road. My heart was pounding, my breath coming in short, panicked gasps. The car behind me followed, its dim lights flickering in and out like a dying bulb. I drove faster, not caring about the twists and turns, not caring about anything except putting as much distance between me and that thing as possible. But the road didn't end. It just kept going, looping back on itself, the fog growing thicker, the trees closing in, and the car behind me. It never fell back, never disappeared, just kept following, relentlessly, like a predator stalking its prey. I don't know how long I drove like that. Hours, maybe. Time lost all meaning. My only focus was the road ahead, twisting, endless road. But then something changed. The fog began to thin, and the trees started to spread out. I saw a sign up ahead, barely visible through the mist. Welcome to Marksville. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. I was almost there. Just a little further, and this nightmare would be over. The car behind me was still there, but it seemed less menacing now. Just another vehicle heading into town. I followed the road into Marksville, the town barely more than a few scattered houses and a single street. It was quiet, eerily so. No signs of life. No lights in the windows, no people on the streets, just silence. I pulled up in front of what looked like the town's only inn. The sign hanging from the porch swung in the breeze, now creaking softly. I got out of the car, my legs shaking, and looked around. The car that had been following me was nowhere to be seen. I should have felt relieved, but I didn't. The silence was wrong, heavy. The town was holding its breath. I walked up to the inn, the wooden boards creaking under my feet. The door was unlocked, swinging open with a soft groan. Inside, it was just as deserted as the town outside. The furniture was old, covered in a fine layer of dust, like it hadn't been touched in years. I called out, but my voice echoed back at me, unanswered. There was a ledger on the front desk, pages yellowed and brittle. I flipped through it, and my heart nearly stopped when I saw my name written there, dated that very day. But that wasn't possible. I hadn't signed in, hadn't even been here before today. The sound of footsteps behind me made me whirl around. There was no one there, just the empty room and the faint creak of the floorboards. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst out of my chest. I backed away, my eyes darting around the room, expecting to see that figure, that man with the hollow eyes, standing in the shadows. But there was nothing, just the oppressive silence and the weight of something unseen pressing down on me. I turned and ran, bolting out of the inn and back to my car. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking, and finally managed to get the door open. I threw myself inside and slammed the door shut, locking it as if that would somehow keep whatever was out there from getting in. I started the car and floored it, speeding down the road that had brought me here. But the town didn't disappear behind me. No matter how fast I drove, how far I went, the buildings remained, the sign welcoming me to Marksville appearing again and again. I was trapped. Panic set in and I started to scream, pounding on the steering wheel, cursing the town, fog, the road that never ended. But no matter what I did, I couldn't escape. The road just looped back on itself, bringing me back to that cursed town every time. And then, in the rearview mirror, I saw it. Car with the dim headlights, following me, relentless. And in the passenger seat was the man with the hollow eyes, staring at me with a gaze that seemed to pierce through my very soul. I don't know how long I've been here. Days, weeks, time has lost all meaning. The road to Marksville never ends, and the town never lets me go. And that car, cursed car, always behind me, no matter where I go, no matter how fast I drive. I'm still here, trapped on this endless road, the fog closing in and the man with the hollow eyes watching me. I don't know if I'll ever escape, or if this is my punishment for something I can't remember. All I know is that if you ever find yourself on the road to Marksville, turn back. Turn back before it's too late, because once you're here, there's no going back.